On today's episode of An Echo of Glory, we discuss the pre-season friendly against West Ham, talk Harry Kane with Bundesliga expert Rafa Honigstein, and we welcome John Wenham, aka Lilywhite Rose, back to the show. Welcome to An Echo of Glory. Joining me once again, Gary Diamond.
Hello.
And a welcome return to John Wenham, aka Lilywhite Rose.
Hello, thank you for having me back on.
Delighted to have you back on.
Thank you very much.
What's that rattling? What is that rattling? Studio's falling apart. Right, we are on the back of losing 3-2 to West Ham. Result is irrelevant.
Yep.
Performance totally relevant. I thought it was. I really don't like this word. I thought it was fun to watch. We haven't seen that for a long time. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I came away from the game feeling very positive about it. You know, we saw Destin Udogie make a Tottenham debut and grab a goal, but also look very good. Get on the ball, run past people, look to make things happen. So that's very exciting. But I thought the whole team played very, very well today. I thought, you know, the fact that we were on it from the front foot from minute one. Yes, we let in the 2 goals from set pieces, and that will take time.
That's worrying, though, isn't it?
A little bit worrying, but I think it's only the first game of pre-season, so I think we can work that out of the system. I think there will be other centre-halves that come in to the club before the season starts. But I just think genuinely that was a really positive performance. I enjoyed watching us play again, and it's been a long time since I've said that.
Gary, you fixed the studio. Welcome back.
Thank you. I agree. I thought it was a really, really good performance. The result's disappointing, of course, whenever you lose, and particularly to a team like West Ham. But the performance was really encouraging, and the manner of play. And there were times when we was watching it, and we were saying, like, is this a training game? Because it looked like attack versus defence. We were winning the ball back so quickly. There were times that they had a goal kick, the camera would cut away, it would come back, and we had the ball again. That doesn't happen, does it?
No, normally when the camera cuts away, the opposition have got a corner or
exactly.
just scored and the director's missed it.
But I think, you know, you can often rely on stats and that. But in this occasion, I think the stats at one point, after about 75 minutes, was 72% possession to Tottenham, something like 15 shots on goal.
At one point, West Ham had
made
made 27 clearances and we'd made 2.
Yeah, I mean, the stats
shows
tell
the
a
domination.
story. It really does. And, okay, you can take a look at the fact that we've lost. The corners and the defending were atrocious. There were mistakes that led to both corners that are pretty unforgivable. But what we have to take encouragement from is that throughout the 90 minutes, it really does look like Ange has already impressed his philosophy on the squad, and they are buying into it from a very early stage.
And Gary, what's really important about that is that was West Ham's 3rd pre-season game. Okay, that was our first game. We've not had many sessions.
But also under a manager they've had for 3-4 years.
Seasons.
We've had 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, you've had Skippy playing every game for England at the Under-21 World Cup, Euros, just a couple of weeks ago, and he's starting the game. So to see Tottenham play at those levels and throughout, and regardless of substitutions made, was really impressive. I just want to give a shout out to Alfie Devine as well. He came on the wing actually, which is an unusual position for him, but he looked really good. He did everything he needed to do, made no mistakes, and he was part of a team that was putting a lot of pressure on West Ham throughout.
West Ham will counter that and say that they had a lot of youth players and it wasn't their strongest team, whereas we played quite a strong team.
Yeah, I think we've taken quite a strong team on tour, so we've played the players that are available to us, whereas obviously West Ham have just lost their best player, haven't gone out and reinvested the money yet. But for West Ham, I said those 2 games before today would have been massive for them fitness-wise, and we still were totally dominant and on top of them.
I don't like to blame players for conceding goals, but people will point the finger at Reguilon for the first goal. He slipped in the build-up to the corner, that can happen, but he lost his man at the back post. I think Tanganga didn't pick up his man for the second goal, and the third goal, Sanchez maybe on his heels, but I thought that was a good goal from West Ham. There is actually one man potentially to blame for the goals, John. We watched it around Gary's house, and me and Gary stepped out of the room for 2 of the goals. The only constant between conceding all 3 goals was yourself.
What have you got to say for yourself?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm part of the problem. I'm
part
sorry.
of the problem. No, but going back to the goals, West Ham will score goals from set pieces. That's what
always
they
have
do.
done.
Always have done. So, you know, fair play to West Ham. The third goal, I think it might have been 4 now, is a lovely ball. Skamaka, who me and you had written off 30 seconds before he scored. Yeah, guilty myself. It's a good goal. But that is a goal that's going to happen. I think we're going to have to get used to that. This is the Premier League. You play a high line, that's the risk and reward, which we kind of had under Conte at the back end of the previous season. We had that risk and reward, and that went totally out the window. Last season, we just defended most of the time. But you play that high, you're going to get caught behind.
Yeah, it's clearly the way that we are going to play. And the sort of goal, that third goal was I don't want to dismiss the first two because they, like I said, they came from bad mistakes leading to the corners, and then the defending itself was atrocious. And I think that sort of that kind of a goal is stuff that I feel confident that we will cut out. But that third goal is one I think that was a little bit more telling. We lost a duel in midfield, and straight away, bang! It was a ball inside, and he had yards of room to run into and score. And I think that is something that we are going to see, and it is, like you say, the risk reward. On the flip side, though, most games that you play in that way with that domination, you'll probably be 3 or 4 up, so it shouldn't really matter. But I can see against, better teams or teams that
better teams.
Yeah, that is a concern.
And also, once our players have played more games, got their fitness up, got their foot back in, so to speak, a few of those chances we didn't score today, I fully expect to be going in the back of the net.
Yeah.
There was a couple of times Bissouma had an amazing bit of skill, got into
What
the
a
box,
move
lovely
that was.
1-2 with Kane, a bit more fitness, sharpness, that's going in.
Yeah.
Richarlison also had numerous opportunities in the second half, maybe with a bit more game time, a few of those go in as well. So it could have been a very different scoreline.
But on that, we have Bissouma and Skip playing sort of that 8 position breaking into the box, neither of whom are goal scorers. They put themselves up. Maybe they can be goal scorers, but are they really the players that we're going to see breaking into the box in those positions? I know you'll get Maddison maybe when Bentancur comes back, but it was clear that Skip certainly is not used to being in that position.
What I thought was interesting in the lineup was it would have been easy to have felt that perhaps Andrew was going to go with 2 6s with Bissouma and Skip, and Maddison as the 8, but in fact it was Bissouma sitting
and the other 2
deep in the 6, and Skip was pushed on. So you might be doing Skip a little bit of a disservice because that's not his natural position. I thought Bissouma, by the way, was fantastic as the 6. He's just a sensational.
He just seems on a really positive trajectory now, doesn't he, in terms of his involvement?
He did that Instagram tweet yesterday. He looks so happy.
He looks very, very happy, and it's as though Conte leaving has given him a new lifeline at Tottenham, a fresh start, and he's really embracing that.
God only knows what happened under Conte that you get a player of the quality of Yves Bissouma and you can completely freeze him out or just make him feel like...
But he was unfortunate he got injured at the same time as Bentancur.
But even before that...
Yes, the appearances weren't the same, were they?
They just weren't there.
Brighton.
Today and the back end of last season after Conte seems like... And I just think he's going to be massive. He just seems like a different player, and we're seeing the quality that we thought we'd signed. Yeah. But in answer to the question about the 8s, I think Skip won't be in that position. It would have been very interesting. I thought Lo Celso had a very good second half. I mean, second half is his only half, but in the second half, I thought Lo Celso played very well. Yeah. A lot of creativity, got on the ball a lot, made things happen. And Lo Celso is a good player. It just hasn't happened for him at Spurs as yet. And I think it would have been really interesting if he had started with Lo Celso and Maddison with Bissouma behind. Because I think there is creativity there. And then of course, we haven't discussed Ndombele, who picked up an injury. And we've all got our own thoughts on Ndombele. I think we're all quite aligned that this is a guy with all the natural talent and ability in the world who could make a real difference if his attitude matches. Yep. But there is creativity and talent there to play in this way. And I think a couple of players are going to really step up and enjoy this way of playing, but for Skip, he's more of a 6 than an 8 for sure.
I just think it's fair to say as well, there will be a surprise that comes out of this tour. There will be a player that us as fans have written off who will seize upon this fresh opportunity. Maybe one of those 6-7 that were out on loan will come back. May it be Lo Celso, Reguilon, whoever it might be.
It didn't look like it was going to be Reguilon based on today.
It didn't. As a fair assumption, he was disappointing. But I certainly think somebody will come out of this tour and we'll get a fresh limelight, and that will be like another new player for us.
Yeah, there's enough there. I completely agree. There's enough there where somebody should be coming back from those loans and establishing themselves. But they've got the ability.
Let's take a look at those new players today. Vicario in goal, couldn't do anything with either. I actually did see someone on Twitter say he should have saved the first one, but Ings was 7 yards out. No.
I hope he doesn't get stick for the corner.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I've watched a lot. I think some of the Spurs play stuff has been great, and I watched a bit of the training, and they try and get the keepers involved in all the one-touch stuff now, which is vital. He did that in one of the sessions where he passed the ball almost off the pitch. I know he was chucked a hospital pass.
Yeah, Porro.
Yeah, let's make that clear. He was chucked a really dangerous
Porro
ball.
put him in a really bad position. It wasn't great.
And not sure about him with his feet. And with a goalkeeper, I don't know how much. And this is me just possibly. I don't know where I'm going with this. Can you improve a goalkeeper's passing ability? Do they either have it or they don't have it? Because Lloris, they must have spent how long was he? 10 years at Tottenham, and it didn't improve.
I think if we talk about Vicario, I don't attribute any blame to him for the 2 goals that were scored in the first half. I thought he made a very, very good save from Bowen.
Yeah,
down to his
really
left.
good save that was.
Yeah.
And the one pass that he actually did make, because he didn't actually see a lot of the ball, was one where I went, oh!
Into the middle of the pitch. He made the pass.
He found the pass and it
that's
got
part
through.
of the risk and reward.
I don't blame him for the one that he put out for the corner that led to the goal, because I
Yeah.
think it was just put in a terrible position from Porro. But the one pass that he actually made, he found its mark. He broke the line of that early press to get. I can't remember who he passed it to, but he found his mark, and there you go.
Also, it shouldn't be for the keeper that if he does have to put a ball out of play for a corner, which keepers do very often, that it's a guaranteed goal. It shouldn't be that from defensive situations we're under such problems that we just can't get our lines clear. That's something we're going to have to work on, and we know that already. And if this tour is going to be what Ange having a look at every single player and making his own mind up on that, then fair enough. Because that's all it is, a tour and friendlies, and that doesn't matter.
Okay, look, he didn't have that much to do. Again, we don't blame him for the goals, but we'll see how he develops. I thought Udogie was very good when he came on. One run in the second half where he looked like, at one point I was like, just bail.
Yeah.
Just went past everybody.
Yeah, and the header, to score
It's a great
header
header.
at the back of your head like that and place it across the goalkeeper into the far corner.
He popped up with
Fantastic.
Udinese. He was in the box a lot,
Yes.
so I don't worry about him there. I'd like to see him defensively, but I thought he was a real positive addition. And Solomon, who had a good...
He got on the ball a lot.
Gets
didn't
on the ball. He wants to go forward. He's
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah, and look, it's been years since we've had a winger that wants to get his head
Aaron
down,
Lennon?
go past people. Exactly that.
Yeah.
You know, short, diminutive,
Yeah.
got pace, trickery.
Yeah.
We know he loves that shot where he
He's
picks
got a
up
hit
and
on
bends
him.
it into the far corner.
He had one of those today, didn't he?
He had one, he had a go. So yeah, I was pleased with his debut as well.
One thing I was pleased with was a lot of time with these friendlies. We made 11 changes at half time, and maybe making them at half time is better in this situation because you get full 45 minutes. Sometimes you made a whole raft of changes after an hour and it changes. I thought at half time, we were like, he's gone off and he's gone off, so we're not going to play the same way. No, we played the same way for 90 minutes. And
Perhaps even more so in the second half. I mean, I don't want to compare the first half team to the second half team, but the second half team was unbelievably dominant. That might be partly West Ham were 2-0 up, might be that. But it was, I mean, I remember you said at half time, we saw the 11 change, you went, the second half's going to be boring. But actually, it
was great.
It was great. And this is what I mentioned earlier, that the players seem to be, the real positive sign from that friendly is that the players seem to be very, very quickly absorbing the messages, and they look like they're playing with freedom, and I think they're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. I think the best thing we can say about it is that we're all looking forward to the next game already. We
Yeah,
all thoroughly
which is
enjoyed
Sunday
Leicester on
against
Sunday.
Leicester. Yeah.
You know, and I'm looking forward to seeing the players again.
Yep.
Maybe we will see some of that first and second half team blended together.
Yes.
And we'll see some different ideas, and maybe we will see, Basuma playing with an Ndombele or Basuma with Lo Celso and some different avenues there. But I think there's a lot to be excited about, and I feel really positive about the start.
Should we just cover? I mean, I think most of the players did a credit and a service to themselves.
You want to go negative, don't you?
I think we have to touch on it. It would be negligent not to, right? Like, let's talk.
It's a
about,
Tottenham podcast. We have to do a negative.
we can't like be entirely happy clapping, right? But let's talk about some of the negatives, because there were a couple for me. I thought Reguilon was atrocious. And I do. I thought he gave the ball away consistently.
Yeah.
He was poor defensively. He cost us. I mean, the slip is a slip, fine, but it still cost us a goal. Terrible defending at the back post. He passed the ball out of play 2 or 3 times. I thought he was terrible. Sanchez, when he came on again, straight. I think his first kick in the second half went out of play, and then there's a pass towards the end of the second half, or again it went.
We
out
know
of
these
play.
guys' ceilings; they're not improving anymore.
Right. Okay.
And then we had the reminder of Tanganga as well. Now, because we've not seen him for a while, we'd forgotten that he loves to give away those needless free kicks in really dangerous positions that we struggle from, and he did it again today.
Yeah, and so there were a lot of positives, but I think a couple of players very quickly.
Richarlison as well, Gary?
He just had a Richarlison game. He's an agent of chaos. He's offside 3 or 4 times. He'll get chances. He won't take them. I said to you while we were watching, was Richarlison unlucky last season? Yes. But also, does he just not score enough goals?
But it's weird because for Brazil,
Well, also for Everton the season before, he said he'd keep them up, and he scored 10 goals in the last however many games to keep them up.
there's a player there, but
He's erratic, isn't he?
Yeah, it's
He's also a player that loves playing on the biggest limelights. So like when we were at Anfield, when he's hated as an ex-Evertonian player, gets on, scores that goal, like at Brazil at the World Cup, the goals he scored there. He needs to be the main man, and maybe at Tottenham with Harry Kane there, you're never going to have that
difficult.
feeling.
And you're also probably snatching because you don't know when another one's coming along. You know you've got to take this one because you could be on the bench for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But let's look. Okay, his finishing was poor, but what I was more disturbed by was his all-round game just didn't look. He didn't look as sharp as the other players. The ball wasn't sticking to him as much. It wasn't moving off him as much. His passes weren't as incisive and pinging.
I agree on some points. I did think he looked sharp. I thought his running off the ball is always good when he's not straying offside. Look, if Kane goes, we're not replacing Kane's goals with Richarlison. But let's talk about Kane. He plays. He starts as captain. He played 45 minutes. Did okay. I think he had one chance maybe that was saved. The cynic in me thinks that we're going to keep him because he's got to go on this tour, and when he comes back from the tour, stuff's going to happen. I changed my mind. I wouldn't even say daily on this, like 3 times daily. Today I'm kind of in that he's going to stay because I thought he's been really professional. There's been no sign whatsoever that he's going to throw his toys out the pram. But just generally, it's just lovely to see him in a Spurs shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said being the captain as well, I think we'll get a kind of, hopefully, if he does stay, an official announcement about that he'll be the captain for this season. I think he's the right
But
person.
when they can't do that until the window closes, can they? Can they come out and say, there's our captain? That says he's not leaving, does it not?
I think there will be a natural cutting point. I don't see Kane moving on deadline day.
Do you think once we kick a ball against Brentford, that's it?
I do.
Yeah.
I think
we
for
need to
Bayern
draw
as well.
that.
I think for Bayern as well. I think they need to start the season with a forward, and they can't be going into the season again. And also, I know Bale moved late in the window and he went to Real Madrid, but I think that's kind of changed now, and Tottenham would need to make other signings to replace Kane, 2 or 3 really, to cover for his goals. So I think there'll be a time when that move will either happen or won't happen, and it will certainly be before the end of the window.
It doesn't feel as though Kane is agitating for it. And as much as he may have had these conversations with Bayern, and he may have said, if you can agree a price, then I'm open to coming, it doesn't feel like he's agitating for it in the way that he was that summer to City, where it really felt like he was trying to force his way out. And nor should he agitate for it, because he holds all the cards, right? And it suits him actually to sort of see how things pan out. Why wouldn't he? So I think he's probably quite relaxed. I didn't know if there was a bit of a statement of both starting Kane and making him captain.
Who could be captain, though?
Yeah, okay, I understand that.
I think if he wasn't captain, that would be a massive story today, and we'd be hearing, and rightly, why was Kane not captain? He's clearly going. And I think if he wasn't captain, you could rightly assume that he'd had a chat, potentially, that I'm not going to hang about.
Yeah.
I put more into that. I think he's captain because he's the natural captain.
Who knows? I was just pleased to see him start today.
Yeah.
See him as captain and hope that that's a sign of things to come. And as I say, I don't see him agitating for the move. I thought he played pretty well today, and hopefully he would have seen actually the performance and the way we want to play, and he might be thinking to himself,
Right, well, do you know what would be really good at this point? Is to talk to somebody who knows a lot about German football, who knows a lot about Bayern Munich. Should we do that?
Sounds good.
Let's do that. Delighted to be joined by broadcaster, journalist and Bundesliga expert Rafa Honigstein. Rafa, thanks so much for joining us. Let's get straight to it. What is the latest on Kane, and how's the mood in Germany on the current situation?
I haven't really heard anything new from the Kane situation since a couple of days ago. As you know, Bayern CEO Jan Dresen went to London to pay his respects, I guess, and tried to open a more direct channel of communication with Daniel Levy. But they didn't go into details. And of course, we've since had Uli Hoeneß coming out in a, quite tragic interview from Bayern's point of view, which started out with him saying, "Hi, don't expect me to say anything about transfers. Bayern used to be very leaky. I'm not going to talk about it," and then continue to talk about it. And of course, saying that, we've got the upper hand and Spurs will cave in and all these things. And Bayern, the people who are directly involved in trying to make this transfer happen, as you can imagine, we're not happy. They're not impressed. They're hoping that it's not going to have a negative effect, but I'm sure it wouldn't have helped matters. So I think we're still at a bit of an impasse where Bayern haven't really seen the expected development in terms of maybe Kane pushing this through, trying to make some kind of statement, either internally or outwardly saying, I definitely want to go. You can do whatever you want, Spurs. You either let me go now and get some money, or you're just going to lose me for free. These things haven't happened, to my knowledge, and that has left Bayern with a weaker hand. Because if Daniel Levy is determined to go into the new season without Harry Kane signing a new contract, which I guess if there wasn't this emotional connection and the face-saving part of the equation, then it probably wouldn't happen. But in this case, things are a bit different. And then I think Bayern have a big decision to make, which is either to wait for Kane and then maybe try to force the issue in January, or make alternative arrangements. So I don't think they're quite as optimistic as they were maybe a week or so ago, when everyone I spoke to in Munich was saying, we think we've got a really good chance. They still think they've got a good chance, but I don't quite sense the same sense of conviction that this can be done.
Rafa, can I just ask you briefly, is from a Tottenham point of view, it certainly feels like Bayern Munich is maybe struggling to come up with the numbers that Tottenham have made fairly publicly known through different intermediaries of the club, what they would accept for Harry Kane, so say 100 million euros or pounds. It doesn't seem like that figure's forthcoming from Bayern, and I'm just kind of wondering as to why. They obviously have sold Hernandez for decent money this summer. Is the money not there?
I'm not aware that Spurs actually have said this is the money we want and then we can do a deal. I think Bayern are trying to figure out what an acceptable deal is for Spurs. They have their own red lines, which I think is 100 million euros, which is not going to get to the 100 million pounds that most people, I think, assume would maybe move the needle. So there's still a bit of a gap there. And Bayern's communication, the briefing suggests that we find it hard to justify, as much as we love Kane, we find it hard to justify more than 100 million euros, which is the absolute max for a player that can go for free next season and is 30 years old and is probably going to be there for 3 years, maybe 4, absolute max, which is going to make him, if you add the transfer fee and something around 400k a week, the most expensive player they've ever bought by some huge distance. And I feel they feel they can't quite go there. But my sense is that this has not been the major issue. The major issue is actually getting to the point where they get the sense, if we go just a little bit further, maybe we're kind of in a landing zone of what an agreement could look like. I think they still haven't reached that point yet, and they're not sure that they will reach it, as much as they are been encouraged by Harry Kane saying, if we can find an agreement, I'd be willing to go.
Rafa, there seems to be a lot of press speculation which seems to be leaking from Germany about Harry Kane. It feels to me, reading between the lines, that Bayern Munich are under a lot of pressure to make a statement signing this summer, particularly up front where they perhaps really, really need. What's the knock-on consequence for Bayern Munich of not signing Harry Kane this summer?
There is pressure because they saw last year very painfully just how important a number 9 is. And that big number 9 used to be Robert Lewandowski. And they thought that they can replace him by sharing the load among hybrid strikers, wingers, attacking midfielders, and it hasn't happened. And Choupo-Moting got injured, and that derailed part of the reasons why it derailed Bayern's season. So it's not necessarily about Harry Kane, but the pressure is to buy a number 9 that will guarantee goals. And of course, Harry Kane on the market is the closest you get to an absolute guarantee of delivering those goals. There's Haaland, but he's still fairly untried quantity at that level. There's Colomboigny, who of course had a great World Cup for France and is one of the coming strikers, but he's still a bit raw and he's going to cost similar money, at least in terms of the transfer fee than Kane. So there aren't that many options. And Bayern have long coveted Kane. They've long had talks with him, trying to see if something can happen. Tuchel really likes him. Tuchel tried to sign him for Chelsea. And the fact that the player has said yes, with the caveat that you still need to find agreement with the club, has really encouraged Bayern, because that is often the hardest thing. Trying to convince a player of Kane's stature and position to actually say, yes, I can see myself in a Bayern Munich shirt if you can sort this out with the club. Because they managed to do that, or they think they managed to do that, because we never know. You can say lots of stuff before signing a contract, what you want to do or don't do. That gave Bayern the optimism to think, okay, we think we can make this happen. He's only got 1 year left. It's a pretty straightforward conversation. Either take the money now or he's going to go for free. But because of the special circumstances, I think with Kane's connection to the club, with Daniel Levy not necessarily looking at the financials in isolation, it makes it a much more complex scenario than perhaps Bayern themselves appreciated.
Do you think it's now or never for Bayern? Because you've mentioned the possibility of talking again in January, but January next summer opens up so many more windows for Kane. Do you think it's got to be this summer for Bayern?
I think that is the danger. Harry Kane might say, look, I still want to go to you. I still see that project. And if it takes a bit longer, 6 months or 12 months, that's fine. But without tying him to a contract, which he can only legally do from the 1st of January, without having anything tangible to show for that, it is a huge... Oh, I'm sorry. It's a huge gamble, because Kane might be in a position, if he can really go into the second half of the season without a new deal, Kane is in a position to have many more opportunities than Bayern. Bayern, I think, are interesting to Kane because of all the super clubs, they seem to be the one who need a striker most and are prepared to push most in terms of financials. Plus, they have the benefit over Premier League teams that Spurs would find it, I think, easier if they were to decide to sell him abroad rather than to Man United or Man City, as was the case a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. So, on the face of it, the stars have aligned quite well, but we still have some variables that make it very difficult for Bayern to see this through, especially if Kane himself is so relaxed to say, you know what, I don't really care if I play another year here. Maybe I will sign a new contract. Maybe I just want to see how things go under the new manager. Maybe I want to see if this rebuild is happening. I'm not pushed for time, but Bayern are. I don't think Bayern can just wait and hope for the best 12 months or 6 months down the line.
Rafa, let's move on from Harry Kane and talk about two signings potentially coming to Tottenham from Germany, in Van der Ven and Tapsoba. I guess, for us in the UK, from the question that I would have is, I haven't seen vast amounts of either. If you were building and shaping a team, your own team, which of those two would you go for?
Neither.
No. I like both. I think they are really interesting players. They are classic centre-backs, quite tall, quite big, quite chunky. The kind of centre-backs that you can see doing well in the Premier League. Tapsoba is a guy that when he started playing for Leverkusen 3 years ago, so immediately looked like a fantastic guy in the making. And the funny thing is that if you go to a site that I use quite often, fbref.com, who work with KPIs for players, they look at things like progressive passes, progressive carries, take-ons, touches, tackles, etc. Van der Ven and Tapsoba come up as very similar players.
Okay.
Because they're both good on the ball, they're both quite aggressive, they still have some weaknesses. Some things are better than others. Van der Ven has a very low aerial range, but with defenders you have to be careful because sometimes what they do well doesn't show up in stats because they solve problems by just maybe not doing something or just telling somebody else to do something, and the data doesn't really pick it up so well. But they're quite similar, and they're great centre backs. It's not always 100% correct, but other players that you find with similar statistics, according to the website, is Cristiano Romero, David Alaba, Alexandro. So you can see that Spurs like that type of player, and I think either of them would be a really good addition.
Rafa, is there a feeling in Germany of which one might be closer to joining Tottenham?
I think Van der Ven is a lot closer from everything that I've seen. I don't have any first-hand information because I haven't really looked at that story closely, but from what I understand, there have been talks. I think Tapsoba seems more distant, doesn't seem to be as immediate as the chance of getting Van der Ven. Wolfsburg missed out on Europe, so I think they'll have to probably sell one or two players. And Van der Ven has been one of the outstanding centre-backs, certainly in the second half. He's really come to the fore out of nowhere to make himself a regular with the team there, and I think he's got great potential. Still not the finished article, still quite inexperienced when you look at the amount of games he's actually played, but very good player, and age 22, really good age for a centre-back who maybe like centre forwards, they peak a little bit later. You'd probably, if you can get him now, you'll have 10, maybe 15 years of him. So I think it would be a really good signing.
Rafa, thanks so much for joining us. Just before we let you go, I'm going to put you on the spot. What shirt is Harry Kane going to be playing in come August, September? The red of Bayern or the white of Tottenham Hotspur?
Certainly the white of England. I'm confident to making that prediction. I've been from the start a lot more pessimistic than some of my colleagues who speak to Bayern regularly, because I know how things can work and not work out. Not just any transfer of this magnitude, but I think the specific dynamics that we talked about between Kane, Spurs, Daniel Levy, etc. So I would say it's not a clear-cut case, but I would say the chances of him playing for Bayern are probably just below 50% at this point.
Okay.
So I would say it's more likely that he'll be a Spurs player than a Bayern player, but it's still a dynamic process, and maybe Bayern can find a few extra millions down the sofa in the next couple of days.
Yeah, Daniel Levy would probably like that. Look, Rafa, as I said, really, really great to have you on, to listen to your thoughts and get your insight. Thank you so much. Great to get Rafa's thoughts. He knows the Bundesliga inside out. He knows Bayern inside out. I said to you just before, I changed my mind a lot on this Kane thing. The under 50%, I think Rafa said.
Yeah.
That's good, right? I mean, that's a great position to be in.
We'll take that.
We will take that.
We will take that. I think it does come down to Bayern maybe not having the financials available to actually push this deal through and what they think he's worth compared to what we think he's worth. And what he's worth to us as a club, and the gamble, obviously, if he stays, and us getting in the Champions League.
That was the key takeaway for me from what Rafa said, actually, was the Bayern board seemed to have a cut-off point at which they will not go above, and he put that at about 100 million euros.
£86 million.
Yeah,
£86 million for, in my opinion, the best number 9
in world football.
In the world.
Yeah, and I don't see that being enough. And actually, I'd be... Rafa obviously knows a hell of a lot more than me, but I would struggle to see... I reckon Bayern would go to 100 million all in with bonuses and add-ons and so on and so forth.
Well, Rafa wrote an article last week, or was part of an article, where he said 90 million all in.
Yeah. I mean, even 100 million all in, I can't see it doing it. So actually, following on from that interview with Rafa, and as I look at everything, I just feel I would be quite shocked at this point if Kane is not at Tottenham next season. I think the only way it happens if Bayern come up decide that they're under too much pressure domestically from fans, or they're desperate for a number 9.
I mean, one potential avenue could be that if a Saudi club came in for Mane for a fee that would exceed what his actual market value would be, they would then have more disposable income and then could come and do the deal with Tottenham. I know there has been some links.
But like you said, the clock is really ticking.
The clock is ticking for them more than us. The time, is on them. They're under pressure to deliver a statement signing and a striker statement. So they can't go into another season with Choppo Moting as your only out-and-out forward.
It's mad, that.
For a club of Bayern standing,
Yeah. I still think every option is still on the table. I think if they stumped up the money, 120 million euros, 100 million quid, whatever it is, I think Levy could turn around to could turn around to Kane and go, Harry, I need the money. I don't want you leaving on a free in the next summer. And Kane will go, okay, I'll go to Bayern Munich. I'll go. Thank you very much. I also think that Kane is not pushing for that and will just basically do as he's told in that regard. But also I think Kane, and Rafa said it and we've said it, is possibly waiting to see how we get on with this Ange stuff. I think he will be pleased to see how we play today, as we all have been. So I still think we're no closer.
So the only option off the table is Kane renewing now, because there'd be no sense to do that. He might well see how this season pans out, see what his options are from January, when he can discuss lucrative terms with non-English clubs about a pre-contract agreement, and he can take it from there. I think the ball with Tottenham will always be open to renewing, even if it's down to his contract actually running out next year, if we get that far.
I don't want Kane to sign a new contract because Gary owes me lunch if Kane doesn't sign a new contract. There's been talk of Goodman, Hawksmoor, somewhere.
I'll buy you both lunch if Kane does renew.
Wait, hang on. Wait, you'll do what?
I'll buy you both lunch if Kane does renew.
If Kane renews, I think we just go out and celebrate. And
don't
the
care
bill
who
just
pays.
ends up being the bill, right? We'll happily go out and do it. But I think you're right. I think there's no motivation for Kane to do anything yet. He's not going to agitate. He's not going to sign a new contract. Everything is in. He holds all the power.
Does he? Levy potentially holds the power if he turns around to him and says, "I've got to take this."
But under those circumstances, then it has to be what's best for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and I can't see that being anything less than £100 million, not euros, straight up. And I just can't. I just don't see that happening.
Even in that scenario, though, we say he doesn't hold the cards, but Kane could just say no. I don't want.
Well, I was about to ask you. Do you think? Could you imagine a scenario?
£200,000 a week. It's not a bad gig. Loved by the Tottenham fans, hero of the club, and can go towards those Premier League goals he needs.
It doesn't sound like that's where he is, though.
No, I don't think so.
Can you see a scenario where Levy calls him into his office and says, Harry, I've had an offer that I'm happy with. I've accepted it. Will you go to Bayern? Do you think Kane could say no to that?
Well, that's very much putting it on Kane, isn't it? And that would be what would be leaked out to the fans via the club's favourite journalists, would be that, Levy gave him the option and he said yes or no. It kind of covers Levy's back a little bit.
Yeah. As I put Rafa on the spot, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. And like I say, I change my mind daily. Harry Kane in a Spurs shirt against Brentford.
Yes.
Harry Kane in a Spurs shirt. I can't remember who we play in September, first weekend of September.
Yes.
Same questions
Agree.
to you. Double yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This current moment, about 2:30 on Tuesday, the whatever of July, I agree with you. But tomorrow morning I could change my mind.
Yeah, I mean, but I think there's too much that would need to happen for Kane to go at this point. One, Daniel Levy has to yield. I don't see it happening. And that's really the main thing, isn't it? And two, Bayern Munich are going to have to come up with money that it doesn't seem they have.
Well, so. And it doesn't seem like they've ever spent that kind of money.
No.
As Raphael told us, and as we were discussing earlier, their record signing was...
Theo Hernandez.
Around 30,
Lucas Hernandez.
30 million or something? 35 million?
No, that was... They spent 35 million on Mane. Their record signing is about 68 million.
68 million.
Which for a team of Bayern Munich
it's a huge jump.
mad.
But there does seem to be an element of desperation in the German press about the Kane stuff, the leaks and so on and so forth. It does seem to be as though they are trying to force Tottenham rather than Harry Kane.
Which is amazing because these whether that's right or wrong, if that is right, and the media want to push Kane to Bayern, they're going to turn around in September if he does go, and the Premier League has lost its best centre forward.
Yeah.
Why are the outside forces trying to push Kane to Bayern?
Well, maybe for the German league to have someone of Kane's quality there, but
with respect, fuck the German league.
But when we're linked with players, you don't see Epsom Bardson coming out and giving his oar in, saying, "Oh, this player should come to Tottenham," and that's what you don't do.
He once had a brilliant game. I can't remember who it was against, but
I feel like it was Everton.
It was against Everton, and he saved absolutely everything.
Yeah, I feel like it was Everton.
There's a voice. I want to get him on. There's a name.
I mean, has he ever scored a goal for us? Did he score against Stevenage in a friendly or something?
Yeah, maybe. John, can't not have you on and not talk about the youth team. I know there's not been too much. They start, I think maybe you said tonight, the first pre-season game, but is there anything on the youth team at the moment?
Not really. I think there are a lot of fans were asking me, are you disappointed that X, Y, Z missed out on going on the pre-season tour? But the simple answer is that Ange decided to take absolutely everybody except Hugo Lloris, who publicly said he was looking for a new challenge. So there wasn't really space. We already had 31 players on that tour. I know some have gone, Scarlett, Divine, Josh Keeley, the young Irish goalkeeper, but many haven't gone. There is a few injuries. I know that Matthew Craig's injured. I know that George Abbott is injured. Jamie Donnelly's injured. So there's a few injuries of the players that maybe would have been next in line. But I think they've just been a little bit unlucky in that Angie's looking at the whole squad.
Yeah.
But they're making their start tonight, as you said. They're starting against Enfield Town. If you can get down there at 7 o'clock or 7:30 kick-off, please do. Support the boys. They'll really enjoy that. And the under-18s are away in Ireland against Cork in a friendly.
Right. So, just on that, taking a squad of 30-odd, would you say 33?
31.
31.
Yeah.
Bringing it a little bit back to the game, but not the game itself. We said it last week, the week before, squad has to be trimmed. But I'm like looking at Lo Celso going, oh, he played well, maybe we should keep him. But we can't keep them all.
I think before we even look at the attacking positions, you've got Sanchez, Tanganga, Rodon, three, and then possibly Dyer as well. You've got three centre backs there, and we're talking, to Rafa about bringing in Tapsoba or Van der Ven, or I'd like to see both, because I think
not going to happen. Though.
But I think the point stands, and I said it the other week. Go big on these two now, and you've got Romero, and these two, and your defence is sorted for the next 5 or 6 years.
Do you not feel we talked about this off air? I'd rather have Joe Jim Anderson from Crystal Palace, who's played 100 plus games in the Premier League, rather than someone. I think Tapsoba's played 100 Bundesliga games. Van der Ven, I'm not sure, probably less.
I disagree.
Xt to Romero, who is
disagree,
relentlessly stupid sometimes.
I disagree for this reason. I think Anderson is a lovely footballer.
You wanted him a while back.
I enjoy watching him. I wanted him in a Mourinho or Conte team that sits deep,
so
where his pace wouldn't be exposed. I think in an Ange team, his pace would be really bad.
He's also good at reading the game.
He's good at reading the game. He's got leadership skills.
That's the thing, leadership.
Fulham was it the first time around on loan, I believe. They instantly gave him the captain's armband, right? As a player that's come from abroad straight into the team. He's left-footed, he's tall, he's calm, he's composed. Imagine that next to the Romero's aggression and coming out style. It's a great mix.
Agree with everything. If he had another yard or two of pace, I'd say he'd be the ideal fit. But I'm very concerned about that ball inside for their third goal, for example. Okay, it's gone inside. I think it wasn't Romero, it was Sanchez. And the fullback.
Davies was
and I can just see somebody like Tapsoba, who was coming round from left centre back. Sorry, not Tapsoba, Van der Ven. It was Davies coming around from left centre back. He was never getting there. But imagine that you had a Van der Ven there.
We've all seen the clip.
Yeah, it's like Forrest Gump.
Does Van der Ven, and he's a big guy as well, and he stretches out, like he makes that a much harder chance than Davies would have.
Yeah.
Anderson's never getting there. And that's the kind of situation, we discussed it earlier, that's the kind of situation that we can see happening a lot this season. And that's why I really like Anderson as a player. Don't get me wrong, for all the reasons that you said and you've said. But in an Ange system, I don't think it would be the right thing.
Well, it's good to have other options out there and to talk, because for whatever reason we might not get either of these two Bundesliga centre halves, and then I think we do have to cast the net further afield and see what else is out there.
I'd rather Anderson than any of the others that we have.
So we've been linked heavily with Toysin Adinboyo as well. He's Fulham, Fulham defensive partner.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you guys know about him, but left-sided centre back again.
And homegrown.
Yeah,
was at City.
We've actually got lots of homegrown players. I know the media like to say we don't, but we've got plenty, especially if you're keeping on the likes of Whiteman and Austin.
Yeah, you're 3 goalkeepers or whatever it is.
So we're in a good position with the homegrown numbers.
Kane goes one less.
Madison's coming.
See, I've changed my mind now on the Kane thing. Look, we normally do club news at the front end of the show. We're going to move it to the back. Just a little bit of news away from the men's team as the Women's World Cup starts on Thursday. We've got a few representatives there. Ria Percival with hosts New Zealand. Kaya Simon is with Australia, but I think she's going to leave Tottenham after the World Cup. Shalina Zadorsky of Canada, Drew Spence, Jamaica, Rebecca Spencer, Jamaica, Rosala Ayane of Morocco, and Beth England. I just want to bring something up, which would really piss me off at any level, men's, women's, kids. Beth England was Tottenham's top scorer, kept them up single-handedly, scored all the goals. Gets back in the England squad, sat on the bench at a friendly last month, I think. They've had 2 friendlies in the last couple of weeks, drawn them both 0-0. First one was a regular friendly. She just wasn't one of the subs used. Fair enough, but you think if you need a goal, you send on a girl who's had a great season. Last week they played Canada in a friendly, which roll-on, roll-off subs. So you're constantly coming on and off. Drew 0-0, 23 players in the squad, 21 players used, 2 players not used. Third choice goalkeeper, okay, didn't have time to get her on, and Beth England. So you've gone out to Australia, yet to play a minute. Roll on, roll off football. You're a goal scorer, it's 0-0. You can't get on the pitch. I'll be on the next plane home, retiring from international football. Wouldn't that piss you right off?
Yeah, it would. But I think, if I'm Wiegman,
Serena Wiegman,
I think she knows what Beth England is. I think Beth England is long enough in the tooth and experienced enough, and she knows that she can bring her on at any point. And let's keep in mind, I think Beth England at one point this season, she moved to Tottenham because she wasn't getting into the World Cup squad. Yeah. So she wanted to get more game
she
time
achieved
and
that
exposure. So she got there. So even being there for her is a bonus. And I think it's one of those where Wiegman kind of knows, look, I need to know more about my other players. And I also know that if I need Beth to come off the bench and grab us a goal, then I've got the ideal woman for that.
And is it that maybe Beth's role in the squad is more than a playing member? She might be there to add experience, leadership, know-how, been there and done it.
Yeah.
And maybe she can do that from the bench and doesn't necessarily need to come.
And as much as you could say I would be pissed off, yes, but if Wiegman has communicated effectively, and one of the things they have said about her... I'm
not so sure there's a relationship there.
But one of the things that they said about Wiegman is that she is a great communicator. And if she's communicated to Beth England, this is your role and you're not going to... But for these reasons... Maybe Beth, respects that and understands that.
Maybe I'm looking at it for my own Sunday League career, where I get pissed off if I got dragged in Hackney Marshes after 75 minutes after miscontrolling it for the entire game. But anyway, I just thought that was...
Because I passed you the ball and it bobbled over your foot.
Yeah, we'll come up to that one day. It was your fault. Yeah. Look, I just wanted to bring that up because obviously we've got the World Cup starting on Thursday, but I was pissed off for Beth. She doesn't need my sympathy. But I just...
She'll be very happy to have it.
Well, Twitter was not just Spurs fans, journalists saying the same thing, saying, how can you have roll-on, roll-off subs and one player not get on? That one player was second top scorer in the league this season, and it was 0-0. Anyway, I wanted to bring that up, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah, thank you.
Good show, John.
Thank you.
Next one's your hat-trick.
Yeah.
We'll have you back on soon, definitely. Gary, a constant in my life on this pod. Thanks for coming on. I think it's a show where my belief that Kane's staying has fluctuated, but I'm leaving this pod with I think he's staying.
I'm leaving this pod with a lot of positives about how he played, a lot of positivity about Kane staying.
Yeah, give it a week.
I think we know we're going to sign centre backs. I'm feeling pretty positive right now.
On the back of defeat as well. Amazing. Yeah. The result was irrelevant, but it was good. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much. We will be back next week, and up the Spurs.